Hello and welcome to the Empowered by Design podcast. I am your host, Dr. Liz. This is episode 183. Should I stay or should I go? We are in our final farewell tour, final season of the Empowered by Design podcast. Lots of emotions when we say goodbye. And today we are going to focus on where to start, where to begin when you are considering ending a relationship. Lots of emotions come up when we are talking about goodbyes, whether that is planned or unplanned goodbyes. This episode, we are going to talk about a planned goodbye, investigating, navigating, exploring the possibility of ending a relationship. And we're going to talk about how to start that conversation. There's a lot to consider, but we're going to start with three main basic questions to get yourself rolling on should I stay or should I go? Okay, so I'm outside. I don't know how well you can hear nature in this podcast episode. You can see it if you are watching on YouTube, which is so fun. If you're listening, you could always check it out or check out the reel on Instagram, on my Instagram page at Dr. Liz. But I'm outside in my beautiful, beautiful, beautiful backyard, which looks into these beautiful woods, the beautiful woods. And today, so if you see me swatting, it's because there's some bugs flying around. You may hear my neighbor's rooster, even though it's not morning. They crow all day. Um, is that what it's called? Crow? I don't know. But they make noise, throughout the day. I just heard it on my way out getting set up. I'm really excited to be outside. I was doing a practice session with my friend Jocelyn today, and she was helping remind me the power of connecting with nature, which I love already, but it's always helpful to have people in your life who remind you of things that you already know and to ground ourselves in nature, to hug a tree, to sit with the grass, to feel it, to witness the trees witnessing us, to witness the beautiful sky. And so I'm here today with you outside in nature, and I invite you to do the same. It is so, so healing. So, you know that throughout the life of this podcast, we are talking explicitly about important things for healing and growth and learning and shining and flying. And we talk about them explicitly. And then there's other things that you will just notice and hear implicitly. Sometimes messages are delivered between the lines, and accessing them sometimes just comes from paying attention, building awareness, tuning into our intuition. But I invite you today or tomorrow, if it's the end of your day, or if you can't get outside today for whatever reason, to find yourself in nature at some point soon. Looking out a window is a good replacement if you can't get outside. But being bearing witness to the power of nature is so, so very healing for us spiritually, emotionally, physically, mentally, relationally, all the things. So today we're talking about relationships, and we are talking about how to know when it's time to say goodbye. I am a love and relationship specialist, and I love, 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 love. And so I love talking about love. I love talking about helping you strengthen your love for yourself, for others, for your partner, for your family, for friendships. How to do those things is so important in our life and in our work. And then sometimes it's time to end a relationship. That is the truth. That is what happens in life. Relationships that end do not have to be considered a failure. Pause. Take a breath on that. Sometimes we wait too long to end a relationship because we don't want to fail. And the invitation to step back and really pause on that, reflect on that, is here in front of us together. We're sharing in this. Because sometimes, whether it is a romantic relationship, a marriage, a partnership, a business partnership, a friendship, sometimes the relationship is done, is healthier for the relationship and for each person in the relationship. So we're talking about a two-person relationship here. Sometimes the relationship and each person that is part of the relationship benefits in a healthy way from ending the relationship. And we're going to talk about that today. That is the theme of this episode today. Should I stay or should I go? My intention for this season is to be really transparent about how the mixture of emotions, thoughts, beliefs, ideas come up in the process of ending a relationship. So, where I am ending the relationship with this podcast, not with all of you, we're not ending our relationship because there are other aspects of connection that we have. The email list, social media, you may see me in person, you may come to one of my events. And the relationship with this podcast, Empowered by Design, as it is ending. And that's sad. And it's also exciting because I know that it's time, because I've thought about it before. The idea has popped into my head before. And it wasn't time then. There were things that had to happen. The timing wasn't right. So, as we are going through this episode, I really, really invite you to get the most out of it, to call into your mind a relationship in your past that has ended by choice, by one or both people's choice. So, here we're not talking specifically about a relationship end through death. We will talk about that in another episode, I promise. This episode is focused on ending a relationship by choice. And so to do that, it's helpful to have an example. So I invite you to call into mind a relationship that has ended for you in the past. And that can be any relationship that you have had with one other person. It can be a friendship, it can be a business relationship, it can be a partnership, a marriage, a romance. We've all had them, right? And so I will use the example of the podcast. As we're talking, I may use other examples that come into my mind. And these are examples, if they sound familiar to you, it's because we, on a human level, experience similar dynamics in endings. As humans, we share a connection of the human experience. That being said, we're all different. We have different cultures, different backgrounds, different ethnicities, genders, gender identities, sexual orientation identities, age, season, stage of life, socioeconomic status, privilege, right? There's so much that makes us beautiful and unique in our own way. And that also comes into play when we talk about how we approach endings and how we react to them and how we process them. So as we're going through this, some of these accounts, stories, examples, illustrations may seem like, wow, she's like in my brain. That's exactly what I feel, right? And know that because I do a lot of work with helping people heal, grow, shine, fly, and love, 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 I have a lot of examples and a lot of material to help illustrate the points and where these things have come from over the years. I also am a human being myself and have had very painful, sad endings in my life by choice, by my choice, by the choice of the other. The invitation again is to listen, to recognize that you're going to absorb some information. You're going to have some invitation to process your reactions to what I'm saying, and that you're using your own relationship history here in this space to really illustrate and kind of drive home some of the points that we're trying to make. So I invite you to do that. This is a disclaimer. If you are in a relationship with violence and current trauma, abuse in your relationship, this is not advice for that kind of relationship. In a domestic violence or intimate partner violence situation, when there is violence and abuse and danger in a relationship, it is important to seek professional help. And this information does not apply. There is another podcast episode that we talk about intimate partner violence and we share resources. I will link that in the show notes. But just so that you know that what this podcast episode is about is if you are in a relationship right now that is seeming like it's run its course, it's been in your mind, should I stay or should I go? Should I stay or should I go? And it's not dangerous for you physically to go. This is the podcast for you. Again, if it is dangerous, then I advise you to seek professional help from a therapist, from a counselor, from a licensed psychologist, and support systems. As we consider this topic of ending, right? Like, oh, even that is like serious stuff, right? There's heaviness there. We're going to start with an inventory. We're going to check in with ourselves. So I invite you, if you're not driving, to close your eyes and take a breath. And really, on the exhale, invite yourself, your attention to yourself, to tune in to what's happening in your body. You can still do this if you're driving. You can do the inventory. Just keep those eyes open for safety. Just check in with your body. If you need to move or shift, you can feel one of my legs is feeling like it's falling asleep. So I'm going to move that. Readjust. Just notice what's going on in your mind, any thoughts, ideas that are coming up, any emotions, emotional energy that you may have carried with you from before you started listening, and emotions that are coming up already just from this topic, from saying goodbye. Check in with your soul, that part of you, that essence, that core identity that speaks to you when you listen to your intuition, when you are quiet and listen to the whispers of the trees and the wind, to that inner knowing, your authenticity, and then tune it into your spirit. Your spirit is that energy comprised of the other things we've talked about: mental, emotional, physical, psychological, that is within you and that extends beyond you, connecting you to other people, connecting you to the universe, to God, source, to divinity, to the angels, to your guides, to the earth. I'm going to go through 3 specific questions that you can ask yourself as a jumping off point. There's a lot more to consider. So I am in no means saying, answer these questions and you are set. No, but this is a really good place to start. If you've been thinking, pondering, should I stay or should I go? This is a really good place to start. Number 1, what are our shared values? What are our shared values? So if you've been here before and you've heard me talk about the Fun Love formula, I'll link that episode as well in the show notes. I invite you to picture that Fun Love formula diagram, which I will describe so that you can use your imagination. I'll use my hands if you're watching on YouTube. The Fun Love formula is made up of 3 golden rings. The middle ring, so if you think of a Venn diagram, but you're just adding one more ring in the middle, that middle ring is the ring that represents the circle that represents the relationship. So us, I will refer to that as us, the relationship, us. One of the side rings that's overlapping that middle circle ring is me, one person in the partnership. And on the other side of the middle ring is you, the other partner in the relationship. So we have me, you, and us. In that middle ring, according to the Fun Love formula, in that middle ring are the things that we share. If you and I are in a relationship that we share together, they are shared values. We're going to start with values. We're going to keep it very simple. So think about the things that you value and the things that your partner, your friend, the other person in the relationship also values. These may be things like loyalty, honesty, truth, fun, things that you value. This could be cultural. This could be belief oriented. This could be spiritual, religious, right? But it doesn't matter. There's not a right or wrong answer here. That's very important to keep in mind. It is dependent upon the relationship. It's dependent upon me, you, and us. The things that we share in the middle in a value-driven way. Of course, this question invites you to think of what you value, right? So when you are thinking about leaving or staying in a relationship, it's important to know yourself. This has been the theme of our whole relationship together here with the Empowered by Design podcast. You've heard me say over and over and over again that it is so important to have self-awareness for yourself, and also how that affects and comes into play into your relationships. You also, in order to answer this question, you must have to have some idea of what your partner, your friend, the other person in this relationship values. If you're not sure, this is a sign that it might be time for the relationship to be over. It is not black or white, but this is a really good place to start. If you're not sure, our shared values, what values do we share? What are my values? What are their values? And do we share any? If you can't come up with 3 shared values, just magic number 3, that's an important thing to notice. And it might be time to call it. Question number 2. What is our shared vision? What is our shared vision? We're going back to the Fun Love formula. We're going to the rings, the circles, golden circles that move in and out, right? Like these circles signify the space, the space each individual occupies in the relationship that contributes to the shared space and that has space of its own, right? So we're talking about how to start to know if it's time to stay or go. What is our shared vision? Vision is future oriented. Vision incorporates our dreams, our aspirations, our goals, our passions, our purpose, what we can see ourselves doing, how we can see ourselves being in the future. What is our shared vision? Again, it invites you to think about your vision, and that can be really scary. There's a lot of times I sit with people who are like, I don't know my vision. And if I don't know my own, I don't know my partner's, or vice versa. Sometimes one person in the relationship is very keyed into vision. Sometimes you're the dreamer, sometimes you're the dream crusher or the non-dreamer, right? It could be really scary to dream about the future. Anxiety can get in the way of dreaming about the future. There's a lot of blocks. Fear can get in the way of dreaming, envisioning your future. When we look at aspects of personality, and one of the assessments that I love to use with individuals and with couples to really measure and explore, identify the personality of a relationship. If you're pretty low on openness to experience, it might be hard to think of how things are changing. If you're high on fantasy and imagination, you may love dreaming, envisioning, and painting your future, creating vision boards. It's an important conversation to have with your partner, with your friend, with your business partner, whomever you are in relationship with that are considering, are we on the same page? Are we in the same chapter? Are we in the same book here? If you're not sure about shared vision, this is another important consideration to think, wow, this is a conversation we should have. Both of these questions, shared values, shared vision, can be conversation starters, because remember, I love love. So I am not the person who's like, the first answer is leave. You should leave. Relationships really, really matter. And sometimes when you start to ask these questions and have these conversations with the other person in the relationship, things rise to the surface. Things that are avoided, things that we deny, things we are not talking about must come up. They must. As much as we want to push them down and avoid them and not talk about things that are uncomfortable, this is a courageous conversation, an invitation to have this conversation with your partner, with your friend, with the other person. And it doesn't have to be scary, right? This is love and connection. It can be like, hey, what are some of the values that we share? It could be a conversation you have in the car on the way to a game or something. It can be over dinner. It can be however you want it to be, but it's an important one to have. What is our shared vision? What are our shared values? And this can really be helpful in determining, should I stay or should I go? It's really important also to notice that in the fun love formula, the shared aspects of the relationship are very, very, very important. And just as important is the space that each person in the relationship occupies independently from the other. These circles move and they shift depending on the season, the weather sometimes, right? We need to be close together if we're hunkering down from a storm or doing a shared project. Sometimes it's very important that there's a lot of focus on the relationship, and those rings, those circles can move in closer together. Other times it's so important to be able to move apart, not disconnect completely, but to move apart and nurture the space for the individual. Nurture the space for me, nurture the space for you, separate from the physical space of the relationship. So going away for a weekend with your friends, either one of you, being able to go on a business trip and not have a fear or insecurity about the relationship. So it's really important to consider all of these aspects, that the shared space is important. The independent space is also very, very important. So I'm going to pause here and just allow you to check in. I invited you. There's a lot, right? This is a lot. This can be a lot, especially if you're going through something right now where you're thinking, oh, gosh, I need to have these conversations, and that's okay. These are questions easy to remember. They'll be in the show notes. 1, what are our shared values? 2, what is our shared vision? I also invited you to think back, reflect on. So a lot of times you'll see me do this infinity symbol. We look back towards the past, in the past, because the relationships that have ended are helpful in exploring those dynamics and exploring those aspects to learn from them. Every relationship, ended or not, ended or continued, is an opportunity to learn a lesson. What went right? What didn't go right? What happened? What did we avoid? What did we focus too much on? Right? Because that is the aspect of tension in relationship, is when we're avoiding something, whether purposely or not, whether consciously or not. And then sometimes when we are focused on something, that can then become problematic and lead to a pattern. So we go back to grab from the past, not to stay stuck there. Nobody's wanting to stay stuck in the past. That's not healthy. We go back to glean, to pull from, to understand, illuminate some of the patterns in relationships and in our own personal histories. We come back to the present moment right now and say, wow, whew, that's illuminating. That is revealing. That's an aha moment. You may need to pause me. You may need to pause me and jot some things down. That can be very, very helpful to journal while we're doing this, to pause and reflect on some of these questions when we go back and think about past relationships. When we come to the present moment and say, let's do that inventory again. What's going on? Why is this knots in my stomach, pressure in my chest, or maybe I'm very excited because we have lots of shared values and we have shared vision and I'm in the right relationship. It's so beautiful, right? So it can be any of those things. And then we go to the future, right? We go to the future and we say, what is my vision? And how does that connect well with my partner's vision, my friend's vision? And those are the first two questions. Question number 3. Is it kind and respectful? And I want to add in fun. Is it kind and respectful and fun? So this question is a question that comes from Adlerian psychology, very basic across the board, humanity. The association that I have to this is when I was in school learning about psychology, studying to be a psychologist, I really ascribed well with Alfred Adler and the teachings. And there is an aspect of relationships that is so important to recognize if there is kindness and respect. Kind, firm, relating styles are so healthy. Firm meaning we have boundaries. We have expectations. We have a framework. I'm laughing because my friend Angie reminds me and helps me very much to remember that when you can be like me, la, 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 loving, being all over the place, that the path to growth, the growth arrow in her coaching formula with the Enneagram, the growth arrow for that is structure, discipline, firmness. And in that discipline, there is freedom. When we know the rules, when we know the patterns, when we have guidelines, we know we have space in between to have flexibility and freedom. We know just how far to go. Sometimes we want to poke the boundaries, right? Like yesterday, I love this. This is just an aspect of fun in my relationship with my husband, with my partner. I poke sometimes. And he was getting something out of the refrigerator, and I just was like standing way too close to him. And he turned, I'm sorry, I'm laughing. He turned around and like had this startle. So if you're listening, I just shook my body a little bit to show what he did. And I just died laughing because it was just funny, right? Like, so playful, fun. That's another aspect of question number 3. Kind, respectful, and fun. And that sometimes, maybe on a different day, he wouldn't have reacted so well to my poking. Sometimes my poking can be a little bit unwelcome. It's one of our shared values. We poke each other, we make each other laugh. Sometimes we make fun of each other in a loving way. And we talk about it if it doesn't feel so loving. We have those conversations. We have the value of being kind to each other, having fun with each other, and being respectful. So is it kind? Is it respectful? Is it fun? What I was saying about Adler before I got distracted by my memory of the refrigerator encounter was in parenting. So I was becoming a parent. I had just had a child as I was entering my official first year in my PhD program. And so, of course, I was very much like, how do I be a good mom? What do I do? And I'm reading all the books and I'm going to workshops, got certified in parenting education. And one of the biggest lessons was kind, firm, respectful relationships between parents and children, between partners and families, kindness, firmness, and respect. And as my children were growing up, if I asked them right now, if I said, what is our biggest rule? Wherever they go, they say, be kind and respectful, be kind and respectful. So this is an important aspect of when you are deciding, when you are exploring, is it time for me to go? Should I stay or should I go? Are the dynamics in our relationship kind and respectful most of the time? Because we fight. Raising my hand, both of them, you saw both go up. There are times that we are not kind. There are times when our words aren't respectful. And I don't mean the poking fun. I mean the biting, harsh criticism. And again, I've had to in my marriage really talk about those things, right? We've set boundaries and we've set below the belt terms and phrases that we no longer use. And we respect that because when it hurts and someone feels so awful, it's not a healthy dynamic in a relationship. It's an important thing to consider when you are exploring whether to stay or whether to go. It came into my mind to use the podcast and my decision to end the podcast here. And I would say that the podcast and I, Empowered by Design, have shared values. We love helping. We love spreading love and sharing the power, spreading light, having amazing, brilliant people come on and share their light. Love, love, love that. I realized that the vision is not shared anymore. It came to me that the vision had been completed. It was timing was evident that the end had come. We had very, very shared vision. Of course, I'm using this as an example. I created it. So, but the relationship is an entity of its own that I'm a part of and that the podcast is a part of. And in the beginning, yeah, we had shared vision. And as time goes by, I had to recognize that my vision is over here more in the other space. And there's lots of other rings going on. You know me. That are pulling away, right? So that's another great aspect of this is that sometimes our vision shifts. The values are the same, but I have not been able to devote as much time and energy in the later years, the later seasons of the podcast that I did in the beginning. I have had, because of my journey, because of growing and healing and learning and growing and healing and learning and growing and over and over and over again, that's spiraling up, elevating. that it became evident to me that I did not have the energy in the same way that I had the energy when we started. And this is here to illustrate that that may also be a part of a relationship ending for you between people, is that we change and we grow and we have new opportunities and new vision, and that's okay. It's okay. It's sad, it's exciting, and it's okay. It's okay to end a relationship. There's kindness. There's respect here in this relationship. There is fun. I have so much fun with this podcast. And to respect the life of the podcast, it is time for it to end. Whew. Yeah. I invite you to reflect, to use this as a starting point. Again, there are many considerations when you are deciding to end a relationship. This is an aspect, a formula that you can use to start the conversation with yourself. You can talk out loud to yourself. You can think about it. You can journal about it. You can talk to your support people about it, your therapist, your bestie, your family, the people that love you, and make sure you're having meaningful conversations with the other person in the relationship. If you can't, then the values are off, the vision is off, or the kindness and respect may also be off, or the fun, right? If it's just no longer fun. So those are it. Those are the 3 questions. I would love to hear what you think about them. I will send an email out and I would love to hear your reply. There will be fun things coming in the future for couples. I'm very excited to be working on some exciting new things for relationships. That is my jam, love and relationships. And this is a piece of it, is recognizing that, of course, we want to work on our relationships and make them stronger. And because I've been here over and over and over again with aspects of how to do that. Relationship strength training, love notes, having marriage meetings, having relationship meetings, making sure that you are communicating courageously. Sometimes it's uncomfortable. So these are all things that go into building the health and wellness in a holistic way of a relationship. And then sometimes the reality is it is time for the relationship to end. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being here. I thank you if you are a returning listener coming back. I invite you to share this episode with a friend, with a loved one, with a partner who may really benefit from hearing and using this formula to understand, should I stay or should I go? I would also love if you would rate and review the podcast. These podcast episodes, even though they're ending, will live on the internet for as long as that stays around. This is a really important one, something deep in my soul. This year of shedding, this year of releasing things that no longer serve us. It is that. And the call is here. I hope this was helpful. I can't wait to connect with you again next time. Take care.